Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. Liverpool Football Club feels like it's in a dumpster fire a bit at the moment, doesn't it? There seems to be almost a civil war between a head coach and a star player. Performances on the pitch, well, we know what they are in all honesty. The results speak for themselves. There is more than a lot wrong in the Kingdom of Denmark just now. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from a mild Edinburgh, one of those, but fingers crossed it's nice in the world wherever you are. But let's be honest, you don't really care too much about that. Unfortunately, everything off the pitch became the story last night, and understandably, with what happened, comments, accusations, things flying back and forth. And it feels like lines are drawn a little bit, doesn't it, ladies and gents? Which team do you sit in? Are you completely team Salah? Are you more team, the powers that be and the way things should be done? Yeah. Nothing is really too good at the moment. And yet, for points in this one, at certain points in the Leeds game, there were positives, weren't there? But it's the way it ends, isn't it? It's still the way it ends, the overall result. And you almost still feel bad doing this to you a little bit in a way. But you have to scroll down to 8th place to find us. Having taken 5 points from a run of games that went West Ham, Sunderland, and Leeds. And if you want to find with the greatest respect to West Ham, Sunderland and Leeds, well, one's in 16th, one's in 18th. And to be fair, one's in 7th, but it's a newly promoted team coming to Anfield. That is how bad it's been recently. And you can try and look for the positives. You can try and say, well, Liverpool are only 2 points off 4th place, but there's a gap opening up now as well, isn't there? There's a gap opening up because they are 7 points behind Aston Villa in 3rd. And before people say, and even Gags alluded to it last night about, well, Villa can go up and down. What are we doing? Have you seen our form recently? How long would it take Liverpool to close a 7-point gap on anyone right now? Never mind it get extended. So you've got those concerns at the same time. And with this Leeds game, people, you're still kind of reeling from it because it just felt like the ending especially set into effect a cataclysmic system of events, didn't it, that we're now seeing unfold before us. There are some positives from the game, but the negatives, again, just outweigh it so strongly. So much to not be happy about and worried about, I think it's fair to say, right at this moment in time. One scan over the headlines this morning, as it says, Dominic Szoboszlai honest while mentioning Liverpool's dressing room. We'll have a look at that. Liverpool icon lined up for temporary stint with a photo of Stevie G. We'll have to talk about that one. Of course, we're going to talk about Mo Salah and everything there. And as it says, that's right. Szoboszlai shines as Liverpool collapse again. And there were a few moments of shine, weren't there? It's fair to say. Dominic Szoboszlai, of course, we'll talk about him with his 9th goal contribution of the season. Literally, we feel like Szoboszlai FC at times. Hugo Ekitike getting in on the act with a double. Great to see that. Curtis Jones, I think, positives as well. But like this season, there's maybe 1, maybe 2 individuals that you can pick. And when you start running through it, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And AWSC 5675, they're saying, I can't believe things are getting bad in this club, both on the field and in the dressing room. Really a shambles and a terrible performance. I don't really think you can argue with a single bit of that. Let's try and look for a little bit of positives or try and analyse it or balance everything, which is going to be a tough ask today. Dominic Szoboszlai said this afterwards as per the headline. Everyone has to take responsibility, not just the old guys here. Everybody here, show you are ready to fight. And he's bang on with that. And also, when you look at his stats, he created the most chances on the pitch with 4, won 4 out of 7 duels, 5 recoveries, 35 out of 45 passes, a goal. Absolutely, again, top class from Dominic Szoboszlai. But he's right. And you knew who he was talking about with the old guys. Everyone, and it's understandable, you look to the star players. But if you're honest, as much as the star players haven't been at their best this season, they're not at the scene of the crime, are they? Which is what, and you can disagree with, the fact he did this, but what Arne Slot said about Ibrahima Konate. And he was absolutely spot on. Now, the mitigation to this is Konate's senseless brain donor foul that gives him the penalty isn't responsible for everything that unfolds. Just be clear upon that. It's still a team game. It's 2-1 at that stage. They keep their heads. They should win that. And they obviously go 3-2 ahead as well. But Arne Slot's not wrong in what he's saying. You can disagree with the delivery, but you can't disagree with the message. How often has Konate been at the scene of the crime this season? How many errors are we getting almost used to seeing week in, week out from this player? And do you know what? Because some of you will now be ready to go, well, what about this player? Yeah, let's keep the energy consistent across the board. And Red Z2P there saying Konate does not deserve a new contract. Again, I'm struggling to argue for it at the moment. Not the only one, though. Not the only one. There's errors again, isn't there? I thought that second goal is so preventable. Konate, and be consistent in your fingers because people are going to use this for agendas. Konate is far too deep for that. Gravenberch is defending no one and it's appalling positioning. Curtis Jones lets Stack get it in on his inside as well. It's just a poor goal. And the third one, I would love someone to interview and ask Ryan Gravenberch what he's doing at the back post. I genuinely would when he does that spin pirouette. I would love someone to interview Konate and say, why do you almost duck under it as well? Honestly, there's so much wrong with this Leeds game. The only other real sort of positives, and we talked about Hugo Ekitike, and he earned his luck with the second, even though he's kind of going out. The keeper pushes onto it, but it's a class finish for the first again, even if it is a freebie from Roden, their centre half. So that is a positive as well. And I thought this man had a decent game. Curtis Jones, as I said, completed the most passes, 62 on the pitch tonight. He won 3 out of 4 ground duels, created 2 chances, 100% of his tackles, and 100% of his dribbles completed as well. I thought he had a decent game. I do. Thought Szoboszlai and Jones were good. I'm going to give them that. Ekitike, good. After that, Virgil good in the air at some parts, but, at times with the ball, you were just like, what? The skipper wasn't himself. I think you're reaching a bit after that. Kirkes maybe for large periods, but the longer the game went on, he tired badly, didn't he? And it got wild. Yeah. And yeah, when we talk about this Leeds game, which will almost be, I suppose you'd call it the sideshow a little bit on this, you looked at that lineup and you thought, if you're honest, the first thing was no Mo Salah. No Mo Salah in that lineup. And you knew where eventually this could end up going. And with the result, and Mo Salah is a passionate man. He's passionate about his football. He's passionate about Liverpool as a football club. It all goes into this. And listen, ladies and gents, I can see in the chat panel, of course, it's going to be the main talking point, isn't it? It does feel a bit like Arne Slot versus Mo Salah somewhat. Battle lines have been drawn with what's been said, and everyone has got their thoughts on this. I understand it. People saying there as well, it's beyond repair. It may well be. So let's walk through this as, fairly as we can, because we need to be factual in what we're saying now. This, when you talk about the relationship, look what he says. I had a good relationship with the manager. All of a sudden, we don't have any relationship. And Mo Salah also mentioned that, he asked Arne Slot for an explanation and he didn't get any. How good that is it. Now, if you team Salah, you'll be making that point that, hold on, he's been to the manager, he's tried, speak to him, see what's going on. Is there anything more I need to do? He trains like a god and he's not getting an explanation. If you full team Salah as well, you can also be looking at this and saying, it's not acceptable for me. Or this is what Mo Salah said. It's not acceptable for me. I don't know why this is happening for me. I don't get it. I've done so much for this club. I don't have to go every day fighting for my position because I earned it. I'm not bigger than anyone. There's mixed on that, isn't there? I think it's mixed across the board. And seeing in the chat panel, which is popping off. And please, I will try and get to all your comments. It's just trying to do the show and keep it all going. Can be a lot for one person, but it's not acceptable for me. And it's done. He is right. He's done so much for the club. I don't have to go every day fighting for my position because I earned it. Mo Salah has earned a level beyond belief at Liverpool. Mo Salah is a legend, an icon, a demigod, as I said. The Egyptian king is on a pedestal, of course. That won't change whatever happens now, not even remotely. However, that is not true in modern football. Modern football, and quite rightly in a way, is not a sentimental game. You do have to go fighting for your position every day. And if you're doubting what I'm saying in that, take that famous Stevie G interview that he did for BT Football, it was at the time. Do you remember when he said about, I had to go every day into training, ready to fight for my position. If there was anyone out there, knock them out the way, show them I was the best. Watch the interview again if you don't believe me. So I don't quite agree with Mo Salah on that. You do have to fight for your position every day because it's Liverpool. That's the standards. And we've been used to him doing that, showing he's the king time and time again. There are other bits to bring into this. Some of the phrasing and the words he chose to use. Mo Salah doesn't speak often, but when he speaks, there's emotion and it's measured. It's these words as well. It's very clear that someone wants me to get all the blame. The club promised in the summer a lot of promise for me, and so far I am on the bench for 3 games. All I can say is keep the promises. Yeah, what were the promises? So as to the fact, because some people are going to say, Arne Slot. Well, just to be clear, for me, he's not referencing Arne Slot in this. It's the way he said, it's very clear that someone wants me to get all the blame. Because he talked about Arne Slot and almost separated those comments. He was very measured on it. If you watch the interview, Mo Salah. I think we all know who the someone or the someones are realistically. And there might be, as there always is at Liverpool, things going on behind the scenes as well. This was an interesting comment as well, or an element of the comments. Can I give an example? It's silly, but I am sorry. I remember a while ago, Harry Kane was not scoring for 10 games. The media was like, oh, Harry will score for sure. When it comes to Mo, everyone's like, he needs to be on the bench. I am sorry, Harry. And to be fair, it's a fair point. It's a very fair point that Mo Salah makes. And he kind of followed it up, and I'll bring this up on the screen as well for you with this bit. I've been at this club scoring more than anyone in this generation since I came to the Premier League. If I am somewhere else, everybody will go to the media and defend the player. I am the only one in this situation. Now, this is probably my biggest umbrage with Arne Slot and the selections being made, and my biggest thing for Mo Salah. He is the only one in the position. He is the only one being relegated to the bench 3 games in a row. There is a serious inconsistency there because we have watched Canate all season. How he's not ridden the bench at times. And we've heard Joe Gomez being available, and we've seen Joe Gomez be available. That's an inconsistency. How in the fresh blue hell Cody Gakpo does that week in, week out, and he hasn't had a single period on the bench as well. He's always in that lineup, is a big question. I get what Mo Salah is saying there. You could, and in the argument, the counter to that is, no, he's not had a good season. He hasn't. Let's not argue. Let's not change facts. It's not been a good season for Mo Salah. Like 99% of others, he hasn't played well. But there's others that haven't played well. There's others that haven't had a real impact. It's the consistency and the treatment, isn't it? I think that's there. This bit will cause the coverage to explode, but it kind of did make you laugh a little bit. You've got to look for sometimes gallows humor in this stuff. After what I've done for the club, it really hurts. You can imagine, really. I know the club too well. I've been here many years. Tomorrow, Jamie Carragher is going to go for me again and again, and that's fine. To be fair, it won't just be Carragher, won't it? It'll be all your media pundits. Just be ready for the media briefing across there. Any pundit, any journalist, realistically, or most of them, I should say, football related, will say the same thing. It's disgrace. You don't do this. You don't break the sanctity of the dressing room. Blah blah blah. You get the head work. All that nonsense will come out. So just get ready for that to sort of rinse, repeat across the board. And he knew that. Of course, he knew that was going to follow Mo Salah, didn't he? At the same time. And Adrian Hendrick is saying, we watched Gakpo all season too. He's been shy. It's a split camp in management, and in any organisation, it required transparency and consistency. We'll come to a little bit of that in a bit as well about the camps, because I think that's important to say as we discuss this. Here's a comment that I think is always important to remember whilst the dumpster is on fire. Liverpool, I will always support this club. My kids always support. I love the club. I always will do. And we love Mo Salah. End of story. This one hurts. I said to my parents, come to the Brighton game. I don't know if I'm going to play or not, but I'm going to enjoy it. I will be at Anfield to say goodbye to the fans and go to AFCON. I don't know what's going to happen, why I am there. That literally, the pins pulled out, the grenade thrown to Hughes, Edwards and Slot, isn't it? Essentially with that. I don't think there's any real way you can put it. A few mentioned this in the chat panel. I actually think something needs to happen today, realistically, across the board, because if you think about it, is it Tuesday's the game against Inter Milan, isn't it? So you're going to have Monday open training. You're going to have Monday press conference with a player and the manager, because that's how they do it for UEFA. How the hell is that going to go? Because you know what all the questions are going to be about. Of course they are. So Liverpool, for me, in terms of the strong leadership we want to see, they need to act now and do something, because it's all the media's talking about. Understandably, it's all that's going to run with football headlines. But there we go. The only thing I will say, and there's just a few comments coming up, and let's just check ourselves here, because Mr. 365 boy, I'm sure there are still fans who want Mo with a walking stick hobbling down the wing. Let's just be respectful across the board, people. Arne Slot is a league title winning manager, a decent man who's trying to do his best after the summer and everything that's happened. You know he's trying. I think it's untenable, but let's be respectful to him. Let's also be respectful of a Liverpool legend. You can think Arne Slot should go. You could think Mo Salah should depart. But let's be respectful about two men who've got big notes in the club's history across the board, eh? The thing for me, which, and you're all going to have your opinions and they're flying in the chat panel. Listen, I appreciate them all. It's just difficult to keep up with it all, in all honesty. You say Team Salah. I adore Mo Salah. You know he's my favourite player. Do I think we're getting the best out of him? No. Do I think we're playing to his strengths? No. It may be, unfortunately, with the team trying to evolve, isn't it? And the likes of Averts coming in, Isak, Ekatike. I think this has been said for a while. You do steer a little bit to almost, is it a 3-5-2? A little bit. the way they're looking in the future, the setup, that would suit a lot of people, wouldn't it, with the flying fullbacks? And Mo Salah maybe doesn't have the future. So he might just be unfortunately caught in this, I hate this word, but like transition period. There's that to think about. The other thing to think about is, I think it's untenable with Slot, but how are the powers that be going to react to this? Because Andy Ballard said there, Salah has to be reprimanded by the club and not train or travel due to the otherwise the rest of the players will be divided. This is a big one, isn't it? The players and the powers. Because the powers that be, and we know the Hughes Edwards of this world, they will not take kindly to displays of player power. They were all about moving away from that, weren't they? When Jurgen left, having control at the top boardroom level all the way down. So they won't take kindly to this. And I still believe this, maybe in a bizarre way. I don't want it to be true. Could it almost in a way strengthen Arne Slot's hand? Because will they want to back, quote unquote, their man against a key player doing this? I don't want that to be the case, but it's a fair question to ask. The other thing is, you just get the feeling when we talk about the players, what backing, this is your big question, what backing does Mo Salah have in that changing room to be doing what he's doing? You just have the strong suspicion that he isn't just going out on a limb completely. And if you look at Virgil van Dijk's comments about, I think, 2-3 days ago, he talks about, I need Salah, I need the leaders in this dressing room. We'll never know for definite. Everyone will tell you it's this. We don't know, but we're guessing a little bit. But I'm fancying that Mo Salah isn't doing this without backing. Without, he speaks to other players. He's a leader within that dressing room. Just, he's one of the leadership group, isn't he? With Virgil, Robbo, Ali, and all the others. And you're seeing what's happening on the pitch. I mean, we've used the expression, haven't we? A lot feel it's they're down in tools. They're not playing for the manager, however you want to put it. So I don't think Mo Salah's kind of going out on a limb here. I think there's something to that, genuinely. But what does that mean? I mean, ultimately, there'll be more things come out and people will debate this. The big question, how does this end? And there's two questions to that, isn't it? How does this end for Mo Salah? And how does this end for Arne Slot? Everything's on the table, people, isn't it? And I mean absolutely everything on the table. A Salah departure now is completely possible, isn't it? A Salah departure to the Saudi League, most likely if it happens, is completely possible. It is. Club taking action against Mo Salah is completely possible from what he said, thinking, he's breached what's acceptable. That's possible at the same time as well. It's possible he stays if Arne Slot goes. Of course it is. Arne Slot. I mean, there is a possibility now. I'd said before, or straight after the game, before these comments came out, it's untenable. I think he has to go. But now, so that's still a possibility, don't get me wrong. But with what's happened, do the powers that be, think, now we might need to back him, do this and that. But it's also possible that Slot goes. That is on the table. Both Arne Slot and Mo Salah are not at Liverpool by the end of January. So then you've got a million questions as to what happens, like who comes in, in positions across the board. It's just a mess, isn't it? And Ian LFC 99 saying rumours Heitinger had the relationship with the players. Look at us now. Yeah, in terms of that, Ian, and in terms of everyone else, the Heitinger shout. Chris Williams tweeted this not close to midnight last night. And shout out to Chris Williams, who's got a lot of contacts within the industry and knows a lot of people well. And he wouldn't just be tweeting this for the sake of it, knowing Chris as well. Said Salah's words are particularly striking. It comes after a number of senior players were unhappy when Heitinger left. The relationship between the players and Heitinger is said to have been stronger than that between Slot and the players. Johnny Heitinger is currently after work, hasn't he? After being sacked by Ajax. So you do wonder about that, even in some sort of interim measure. Is that a possibility? Jeez. And then there's something that scares the living bejesus out of me. But I am starting to wonder if this is a possibility. We saw, the King come back to steady the ship. This article, there's a lot of people talking now. You know who that is, where it says Liverpool lined up for temporary stint. I would not be surprised if in the coming days you see more of a groundswell for get Stevie back, get Johnny Heitinger assistant, something like that. And I could understand that. I could absolutely understand that. But an interim, I can get that. It's that bad, as I said. I'm not going to go back on myself. It's untenable right now. But this has the potential to hurt my heart because I don't think Stevie G, even as an interim, is the right person. Definitely not longer term as well as a coach of Liverpool. He's a hero of mine. He's a legend. He's an icon. This terrifies me because I always think back to that situation where, think of even like Spurs when Glenn Hoddle came back and, there was adoring things. People were in tears in the crowd and then he was getting booed at the end. It just has the potential to go wrong, doesn't it? But then again, you'll argue with me. Could it be any worse than it is at the moment? The only thing, and I'm going to have to come back to this again for where we are. Two things. Everything is on the table. Mo Salah future, Steve on Slot future. You just don't know. And Liverpool need to act fast on this. They can't let this fester, people. You've got to look that Monday we'll have open training. Monday we'll have the press conference. Monday we'll have the player and the manager up for that as well. You have got to do something before then if we're going to show strong leadership, whether you agree with it or not. And I get it. People saying Glasner, all sorts of that. Liverpool Football Club is on fire and something needs to happen and needs to happen fast. In terms of AI content for you, absolutely pouring out the waz, as we said, in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. There's talks transfers, Slot, Salah, talk of match reaction to Leeds. Raw was out. I did the show with Gags last night, talking through that. So thank you for joining. We were pretty honest. We were pretty passionate about that at the same time. Just going to say it again, though, for the chat panel. You can have your opinion on what should happen to Mo Salah, what should happen to Arne Slot, but show the respect. Title-winning manager, title-winning player, legendary player. A manager who's going to have an important part of our history. Let's just, show the respect, whatever we think happens. I don't know. I genuinely don't. We did this show early. We wanted to do it before sort of 11. No, it's normally 11:30, isn't it, on a Sunday? But there's a couple of reasons. I wonder if we get some real news last night, aside from obviously the Salah interview and I wondered if we get some news this morning. I do wonder still. I'm still expecting some news later in the day. So I wouldn't be surprised if I'm joining you. Because again, in case you're missing what I'm saying, they can't allow this to fester. Because Monday, they'll have the open training. All the cameras will be there seeing if Salah's there. Of course they will. Monday press conference before they fly out or when they land in Milan or wherever it is. A player goes up. So they're going to, and you know what all the questions are going to be like. And it's almost unfair on the whole team, in essence, to do, strong leadership and strong action is needed now. I'm hoping, I am praying we get some today, people. I genuinely am. Whether your Slot goes, whether your Salah goes, whether you both goes, something needs to happen, doesn't it? Might well be speaking again. We will see, ladies and gents. But on Sunday, the 7th of December, Liverpool Football Club feels like it's on fire right now. And that was another daily red for Anfield Index.